Hey guys, Dylan from the Geek Duo here, and today I'll be bringing you My Hero Academia Chapter 297 read-through. Now, like in the last chapter, there haven't been any of the breakdowns already. There haven't been any of the spoilers videos that have come out, so I went into this chapter completely blind, which is both a blessing and a curse because it means that I missed details that I think would be interesting to tell you guys. But there was a couple points that I was able to sort of pick up on that I'm not sure would be obvious to everyone else. Be that spelling mistakes in some names or background figures that we haven't actually seen in a long time. Anyway, the chapter opens with an aerial shot of Tartarus, and this is a full page image, and the text on the image is likely something that will be said by President Mike in the episode. It says, Supreme Maximum Security, Anti-Quirk Prison, Tartarus. Located 5 kilometers off the coast of the mainland, this prison has been built to house vast amounts of dangerous and diverse quirk users. It may function like a conventional prison, but in actuality, those who are deemed a severe threat towards the safety of the nation are locked up and monitored closely, regardless of whether their sentence has been processed or not. The facility is divided into 6 levels, where the potential threat level of a criminal are deemed higher the further underground you go. It's a prison where, once you enter, there is no chance of leaving. It is considered the darkest corner of quirk society. Now, that's a mouthful, but it defined a couple things of the prison. First up, 6 levels of the prison means there are 6 categories in which a villain deemed danger enough to put in this prison are in terms of threat level, wherein a person like Moonfish may be level 1, level 2, but a person like All for One would be a level 5 or a level 6. Gigantomachia would most likely be a level 6. It also says that once you enter, you've got no chance of leaving. Now, that is not entirely true to its name of Tartarus, because in Greek mythology, the Tartarus, being the sub-area to Hades, was actually where the monsters would go when they died. The gods and the titans couldn't die, but they were housed there if they were deemed too much of a threat, like Kronos. And eventually, because Tartarus was a living creature, if Tartarus was to ever rise, then all of the monsters housed within him would be let free. At least that's what some versions of the stories say. There's also the Percy Jackson interpretation, which, yes, I know isn't actual Greek mythology. It just draws from Greek mythology and explains it in a way in which is more family friendly. But there was the way in which the monsters were killed, sent to Tartarus to be reformed, in which case, again, not entirely inescapable. There's also a part of this chapter that again, it's very heavily alluded to in Percy Jackson, or more its sequel series, but I'll get to that when we actually get to it. 8:34 p.m. The mainland side entrance, commonly known as the Bronze Gate. We see that there is a communications tower located right next to the gate, and it's talking to someone who's on the bridge between Tartarus and the mainland. It says, "What's going on out there? Briaz, Gigas. This is Gigas. Announce a code red security lockdown. Briaz, my brother, he's dead. Call a code red this instant." We see that a hero, at least we assumed he's a hero, not just a normal guard, given the fact that he's got a costume on, is guarding the entrance to Tartarus along with two mechas. Maybe three. They're not mechas, they're the training robots from the entrance exam. And we see that both Gigas, I'm not actually sure if that's how you pronounce it, it's Gygus? No, it's Gyges, and Briaz, or Briaris, I don't know how you pronounce that either. I've also seen it spelled multiple different ways. This is one of the spelling mistakes I mentioned, because I've never actually spelled it this way, which is Briareus, which is most likely pronounced Briarus. But these two, they're based off of Greek mythology as well. They are specifically the older brothers to the giants, the 100 armed ones. They guarded the gates of Tartarus on the god's side when they were trapping the Titans in there. We see that, like the story they're referenced off, each of these have multiple sets of arms, though it only looks like they have 8 arms. And Gigas, he appears to only have 6. But we see that obviously there's a battle going down as the mechas are fighting, and also one of the guards to the gates are dead. And through the smoke we can see that what they're fighting is Shigaraki, or more accurately, one for all in Shigaraki's body. How draining. He reaches an arm out, which is crumbling itself, and then we cut inside the prison. Tartarus, B10, the lowest level. Apparently, the skyscraper will arrive here tomorrow morning. Gigantomachia. He's the pickled plum-faced subordinate, eh? Can't we just kill him? He's too big to kill. Firearms won't work. And since he's classed as a human, the use of missiles is deemed unethical. I don't consider that guy a human. He's just a disaster waiting to happen. Same goes for any of the scum running here. Cut that out. What you're saying will go on the record. The Hearts and Minds party is bound to be dissolved, but that doesn't mean this offshoots won't hesitate to fight back. Even if we don't think it's a human rights violation, they'll have our heads on pikes over this. These days you never know what information will get leaked. But I stand by my truth. These people are just beasts in human clothing, mingled among these husks who lost themselves due to their quirks. They're simply dreadful beings. as he's saying those last two speech bubbles, starting from these people and ending with dreadful beings, we get panels of various prison cells throughout this compound. We see Muscular. He's bound in a similar way to how the League of Villains bound Bakugo when they kidnapped him, with a muzzle completely strapped into a chair, like straps around his torso and his ankles. And we see that this was done as a precaution, as there are obvious impact marks on the walls, meaning he was using his quirk to try and break down the wall or using it in anger, and so they restrained him. The next cell we see is Moonfish. It's hard to tell from this image. The thing that gave it away to me when I first read it is that he's in a straitjacket, and you see him trying to chew at the walls. The next panel we see, now again, not immediately obvious to everyone, is the back of a male figure, and I picked this up as Overhaul, mainly because he was one of the ones we knew was in this prison, and the hair matched the Overhaul that we saw when he was being arrested. And later we see him being freed from his cell, and we see that, yeah, he has no arms, so it's Overhaul. Now, the next person we see, we've not actually seen before, at least to my knowledge, may have appeared in the Vigilante spin-off, or maybe retroactively put into the spin-off. It's a female prisoner with two-toned hair, one a dark, one a light, though not like Shoto. It's more of a strand of dark with the occasional strand of light. Not sure if it's dyed or if that's her natural hair color. We then see a corridor of cells going down it. We see a man crouched on the balls of his feet with his head down, and judging by the hair, again, I'm going to say this is Stain. We don't actually see this person again this chapter, so have no confirmation whether or not this is actually Stain. Then we see Kurogiri, still strapped up like he was when Aizawa came to visit. And then we see the twos of All for One's face mask, respiratory mask. It then cuts back to the guard, well, outside, as the alarm is blaring through the station, and the guards in the sentry tower call out, "Security level, measure, code red, intruder detected, code red. Close any and all passageways on each floor. All workers are to enforce strict measures to maintain order. It's from the main entrance. What horrible timing. Wait, where have they gone? Did they just retreat? Intruders detected from below the bridge. Coast Guard engaging. The target is..." Zzz. We actually see some of the security measures that are in this facility, as between each cell there is a wall that descends in times of crisis, so that there is at most 2 prisoners interacting in the case of cells opening. We also see that the bridge between the mainland and the prison, it is segmented. We saw this when they were driving to the prison with All Might, but each of those segments actually splits apart, and drops into the ocean to stop anyone advancing on foot. And they have aerial sentry drones acting as the Coast Guard to shoot any flying or sea-bound intruders. And this Coast Guard is currently engaging the high-end Nomu that Shigaraki sent in the last chapter. And Shigaraki himself, while the majority of the high-ends are attacking from the ocean, he's flying above on the one-winged Nomu. And we see that he's actually waking up. He says, "I told you, this was my body, Master." "Have you awoken? Continue your rest. Your regeneration has slowed. You must conserve energy to heal." "You're telling me to rest? Then what am I doing here?" "I mean that you should rest after the deed here is done." "Give me back my body." "Wasn't it you who wished for my power? You spat at the hand of society who refused to help you. You sought out power in order to enact that hatred on the world. This here is the fruit of your labor, the results brought about by your strong will." "I don't want to be used as just another chess piece." "Do not be mistaken, Tamura. You are not a mere pawn. You are, in fact, the most important piece of all. My future king." As Shigaraki and All For One are having this exchange, it's shown that while they're verbally talking in the real world, they're facing each other in the mindscape. And Shigaraki is still trying to attack All For One, trying to decay the area and decay his master, but he's inexperienced with the mindscape, and All For One has all the controls, trapping Shigaraki in sort of a puppeteer's grasp, but rather than the strings just coming from the hand on top, there's also ones coming below to completely constrict Shigaraki. But that's all we see of the mindscape as we cut back to the carnage that's happening at the outside. "The surveillance tower has been destroyed. It's Shigaraki and the Nomu." With search, I've figured out the location of my original body. However, I'm within the depth, about 500 meters underwater, give or take. The water pressure would make clearing a path to my main body through the building near impossible. Furthermore, this incomplete body isn't holding up. I would like to acquire some other villains as well. This truly is Tartarus. Even if Maki were here with me, you would still be one step ahead of me with these provisions. Even in the case this body had been perfected, an attack from the outside alone would have still been quite difficult. "The surveillance system is down. It seems like we've been struck by some sort of EMP. 3 seconds until we're back online. Wait, what the? The system... With the system down, we can't monitor the inside." As One For All is going on this internal monologue, we again get shown the damage that constantly using these quirks is putting on Shigaraki's body, and the fact that he's constantly using the right hand is making it more and more not so much decayed, but it's crumbling to pieces, and there's blood flying out of it in all directions. And also, one of the prisoners. Well, I just spoiled it there. It's the female prisoner is able to send out some sort of electrical signal to connect with the system of Tartarus, and she uses this to lift all the barricades and open the cells. We then get a 2-panel flashback of the exchange between All For One and All Might, where All For One says, "Even I would have a tough time struggling against this particular god. No, you can't get out at all." "Right you are, All Might. I can't get out at all on my own. However, inside and out, working in harmony together at a shared level of consciousness. This is the way." And this is the point where I said was another, well, not a reference to, but reminded me of Percy Jackson, because in the sequel series, in the fourth book of that, there's actually a scene where they have to close the gates of Tartarus, and it has to be done one team working within Tartarus, closing the gates on that side, and one working on the outside of Tartarus, closing the gates from the outside. Whereas this is the inverse, where the force on the inside of Tartarus and the force on the outside of Tartarus are trying to open the gates. And we see, just like in the book, it works, because all of the prisoners have escaped. The system won't come back online. The ones in solitary confinement are breaking out. Inside. Control units on site. Execute lockdown in the isolation block. Follow procedures. If even one of them steps a foot outside their cell. The person giving these commands is interrupted by a wall in the communications room being blasted in. And so, as per their instructions, the guards, they open fire on the person coming through. "You ain't gonna kill me with these puny toys, so how about you show me the exit already?" That is right. I say that, but just by the voice, you have no idea who I'm talking about. But we get the return of Muscular in all his glory, with the copy of his quirk. Now, I don't actually know if it's his original quirk that he has, or that quirk was given to Hood, and then the Doctor's clone copy was given back to Muscular. But he has his quirk. He seems to have amped up his abilities with it. And also, I forgot how much he looks like Bakugo. I wouldn't be surprised if later down the track he turns out to be like a brother or cousin to Mitsuki. So an uncle or second cousin to Bakugo. Purely because of how similar he looks to Bakugo. But yeah, he makes easy work of those guards, and it's a little surprising to me that bullets don't affect him, because you'd think that bullets through muscle fiber would work the same as bullets through muscle, in which it would penetrate. Plus, these guards would have higher caliber than normal guns, so it should completely shred him. And speaking of people getting shredded, the guards down on the solitary confinement level aren't doing much better than the ones in the communication room, as they have teeth sticking out of them, or more, teeth have flown through them, as Moonfish, now without his gimp mask, is using his quirk to make quick work of all the guards that are trying to shoot the prisoners. And we also get, I'm going to guess that this woman, she's going to have a bigger role to play because of how much focus they've put on her. Because she got a image along with all of the members of the League of Villains. She gets a speaking role, and she was the one who freed all of the prisoners. So anyway, the system isn't responding to my quirk. Guess Tartarus really is falling. She's running with the rest of the prisoners in solitary confinement, and she sees that one of the cells didn't open with the rest, and this confuses her. So she goes over and opens it manually, and out falls Overhaul, who calls out for his father. Now, I don't know why he'd be calling out to his father, unless it's to be like, "Father, I'm coming to bring you out of that coma." Because I'm not sure whether this is correct or not, because I haven't read any of the external medias for My Hero Academia, but apparently the doctors in Tartarus were able to reconfigure Overhaul's quirk factor a little so that it now doesn't have to be activated with his arms. He can use his feet for it. I don't know how true that actually is, but if it is, then yeah, he could use his quirk to heal the Yakuza boss and be determined. We then get a couple speech bubbles from some of the other prisoners. We don't see them. One says, "Wait up, I don't got any legs. I can't leave." And another one says, "Is this for real? I finally get to touch some real dirt again." I don't know why both of them are American, but they are. "If you want to leave this place, then follow me, friends, and witness me from the sidelines." "Shigaraki?" "As this marks the beginning of a transition into a new era, and the birth of a more perfect Demon Lord. This is the story of how I will become the greatest Demon Lord." We see that All For One was somehow the first person to make it out of the facility, and he's now addressing a collection of prisoners who have gathered in the courtyard of Tartarus, and he's also addressing the body of Shigaraki. And that is where the chapter ends. So a lot happened in a very short amount of time in this chapter, because this probably only happened maybe 15-20 minutes max between them, the call from Gigas to All For One addressing Shigaraki. Probably took 15-20 minutes, and in that time, we got the freeing of every single trapped League of Villain member, barring Kurogiri, or Oboro, as I really should be calling him, and Mustard, who we didn't see at all. I did look down into the comments on the website I read this on, and they were discussing who the girl was, and someone put forward that maybe that's Mustard, but no, Mustard was male. And also this woman, based on the fact that A, she's in Tartarus, which is an adult prison, so that instantly explains why Mustard isn't there, and the fact that, well, it's female, it's not Mustard. So whether or not they do bring Mustard back as well, because he had a very powerful quirk. Yeah, interestingly enough, we also didn't see Stain during this breakout. So maybe the theory that Stain took down a few of the villains while they were breaking out is possible. I don't exactly remember who proposed this theory. I know it came out either last year, so 2020 or 2021, with the prospect of a prison break arc, where they said that maybe Stain and Overhaul would take out a few of the escaping villains because neither of them were too fond of villains. Overhaul working for the betterment of his Yakuza group, trying to bring the world back to a state in which the Yakuza would be a necessary class system. So, take it back to before quirks. And Stain was never really a villain. He killed as many, well, he's believed to have killed as many villains, if not more, than the heroes. Plus there was his whole time as Stendhal, which I don't actually know much of. I just know that he was classified as a vigilante then, not a villain. I'm quickly looking through the chapter to see if there's anything interesting I didn't make a comment on. Doesn't seem to be. So with that being said, if you guys enjoyed the video and were able to pick up on any details that I missed, if you have any theories as to who this mysterious woman is, or what Overhaul and Stain and Kurogiri may be doing during this escape, comment them down below. And with that being said, catch you in the next one.